that we have every Monday at 1 p.m. where we come. Hi, Foluake Aliu. How are you doing, ma'am? It's good to have you. So the Skill Up Show is that show that we have every Monday where we come to talk about skills. We talk about skills that we can launch into our parenting, okay, in a week. You just take, all you need to do is take that skill and practice that skill in your home in that week and see how you and your children um, grow with that skill, basically. All right, so the Skill Up Show is focused on helping parents skill themselves up and skill their preteens, basically. And when I'm talking about your preteens, I'm talking about your children between the ages of 7 and before they become teenagers, right? But I always say to parents who join me in the Skill Up Show that this show is not just for parents of preteens. This show is for parents who have young children. Are you a parent of a young child? You're a parent of a toddler? Yes, you have children who are 2 and 3 and 5. This show is for you because there's so much that we can learn as parents. They say we don't go to war on the day of war. We go to war before the day of war. So what you want to do as a parent is equip yourself. Make that toolbox robust before you get to that phase in the life of your child. And we have parents who have teenagers and are still struggling with certain skills that the teenager, certain gaps in their parenting and certain gaps in the lives of their children. So yes, this show is also for you so that you can skill up your teenagers. Now, the Skill Up Show is not a very long show. We have the show for 30-40 minutes. Sometimes we stretch it to about 1 hour, depending on what we're talking about. But the goal of the show is supposed to be a quick show where we come give you tips that you can use, apply in your parenting that week. And as you go, you will see that you probably need help or you probably need to put much more into it. Now, with that, you can turn back to us and we're always here to support you. In the group, we're always here to support you with more and more tools. Okay, when you ask your questions, we're there to answer your questions and all that. Okay, we can do all that for you in the group. But more than that, we also run a community for young people where we hold their hands through this stage of their lives, right? So we hold their hands through this stage of their lives. It's called the mastermind group. Now, in the mastermind group, it's a hand-holding group where we hold the children's hand through this process and we help them learn these skills effectively. All right. And when your child is in the mastermind, what that does is it gives you access to us as parents. So you have access to us and you can also be a part, right? We can also be a part of your journey as a parent, and we are here to offer you all the support that you need. Okay. Are you joining me? Don't just be in the background. I need you to say something in the comments so that I know that I've got company in you. If you're watching us on YouTube, then and you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, why don't you go ahead and subscribe right now? All right. I am just going to give a minute or so that those who want to join us can join us. The Skill Up Show is a show that we have regularly on Mondays. Okay. So it's something that we should put in our schedule so that when we go live, you see us and you can also be a part of the show. Are you watching us on Facebook? Do you have a friend that needs to be here right now? Why don't you go ahead and invite them to join us in the show, on the show? All right, I'm just going to give you a minute for those who have not joined us to join us. Okay, if you have a friend that needs to be here, I'm going to give you a minute to also invite them. Am I on the group? I need to know, is this me on my group or somewhere else? If you can see me, you can hear me in the group. If you can see me and you can hear me in the group, why don't you let me know that you can so that I know that I've got company. All right. If you are on YouTube and you have not subscribed, okay, I see Chineye. Welcome. Thank you for joining me, Chineye. Okay, why don't you go ahead and invite anyone that you know that needs to be here before I kick off in the next, before I get right into what we're talking about today in the next 1 minute. You have a friend that needs to be here? Invite them right away. Okay, you need someone who needs to be, you have someone who needs to be here. Why don't you share the link with them on YouTube, on Facebook? Why don't you go ahead and tag your friends who have to be here right now? All right, so let's move. Just a second. Let me do some housekeeping. All right, you have someone who needs to be here. Invite them straight away. Let's move. All right, I'm ready to move now. Let's go. All right. So today we're talking about how to reinforce what your child is learning in school and learning in other places where your children are learning. We're talking about reinforcement. What is reinforcement? How do you reinforce? What do I mean when I say reinforcement? Is reinforcement even important? These are the things that we are talking about today. Now, reinforcement is something that you can, it's a tool that you want to use as a parent. Okay, and it's a tool that teachers use. Okay, you can use reinforcement in the classroom with your children, especially for teachers who work with young children. And because the skill of show, we are concerned about your young children and your preteens. So yes, reinforcement works very well for your young children, your preteens. Okay, reinforcement is very important, and that's why as parents we must learn how to use reinforcement. I had a post today on the group and I was talking about my classroom experience when I was actively in the classroom. I talked about how I had this student. Okay, for those of you who don't like to read. Okay, so I talked about how I had this student. Okay, I'd gone back, we were resuming for the school year, and usually as parents, as teachers, you're like, okay, you're very excited about the school year and you're wondering who is going to be in your classroom. Okay, now in my school, the school where I worked at the time, we do a total reshuffling every school year. So you might know the children in the previous class, and because as a teacher, I'm a year two teacher, a year three teacher, I'm going to be in year three. We know that before we even leave at the end of the school year, the previous school year. So you know what class you're going to be handling the next year. So it's not a function of who are those coming to my class. And because you know the children in the elementary school, you know the group of children, or at least you know the class, or those who were in year one and are coming to year two. So you have an idea. And we're all teachers, we're constantly having conversations. We know the children, basically, somehow you know them. So, of course, quotes and unquotes, the children who are, who are extra. Yes, as a teacher, the children in the school who are extra. The parents in the school who are extra. It is like that. We know these things. So usually there is that, the kind of kids you would rather want, like, okay, I don't get power for this kind of parents and all of that. So it's some of the things that happen in the classroom, basically, or in the school system. All right. So this child, everybody, if you had your way, you would rather the child didn't come to your class. And I looked through my list that year, a few days before school resumed, and voila, there he was on my list of children for the school year. And so I had to make up my mind. Okay, this is some serious lemon that has been tossed at you. What am I going to do? Am I just going to stay there and lament? I'm sure my colleagues are already like, okay, Maribeth, you're in for it this year. Am I going to do that, or am I just going to go ahead, and lament or do something about it? So I made up my mind that I was going to make the best of it. Okay. And because I had trained, I was an expert in creating personalized education plans. That's something that each of you should do. You should be able to personalize your child's education. And when I'm talking about education, if you've been following me for long, you should know now that I'm not just talking about your children's academics. I'm talking about, the holistic thing, generally educating your child. All right, you should be able to personalize your child's education. How does this child learn? What does this child need right now in kingdom life? Okay, I'm teaching my child about my beliefs, my ideology, okay, my beliefs, my ideology, my faith, and all of that. What does this particular child who is 8-year-old, what does my 8-year-old need? Okay, so I personalize that for my 8-year-old. Okay, I want to teach my child how to take care of themselves. Okay, how to take care of self-management and all of that. What does my boy child need? I will personalize it to my boy child. What does my girl child need? Hi, sir. What does my girl child need? I'm going to personalize it to my girl child. What does my child who is a typical sanguine, okay, that one that just wants to drop things and go away, that one that just wants the excitement, doesn't want anything serious, how do I need to personalize, okay, her education based on what I know she is, her temperament and all of that? How do I help her take in that temperament, manage her temperament, and help her still live a wholesome life, or help her still achieve everything she is supposed to achieve, whether she's sanguine, she's melancholy, or she's phlegmatic. Okay, the knowledge of the temperament our children have, or who our children are, or how they learn, is not so that we can make excuses for the things that they are doing or not doing right. It's so that we can help them manage why they are doing this or why they are not doing that, because basically their temperament is not what's affecting. Their temperament is why they do the things the way they do the things. Okay, the things they do the way they do it. It's a temperament that is responsible for that. Okay, so basically, what do you want to do? You want to help the child manage that temperament and still be the best version of themselves, no matter what their temperament is. So you can have that child that is restless all over the place, okay, all over the place, restless, just wants fun, doesn't want anything serious, the child that doesn't want to sit down and learn, the child that doesn't want to sit down for too long, and yet the child needs to learn. So what do? Understanding that the child is this way, understanding the way the child learns now helps you, right? Put all of that together and you are able to teach the child or help the child still learn even while they do not lose themselves. So you're still the exciting child, you're still the life of the party. But that life of the party or whoever, whatever it is, does not stop you from learning, does not stop you from acing in class, does not stop you from being top of your class. So yes, parents who understand this, understand you don't have to pull your child down. You don't have to consistently tell the child, the only thing you know is music. The only thing you know is how to dress up. So we do some of these things because we do not understand that, our children's temperaments are valid, and that they are not meant for us to make excuses or for us to shame our children. They're meant for us to understand and then help the children understand. And so use what we understand to help them learn ways to thrive, even with the temperament, basically. All right. So when you understand this, then you will understand your place in the life of the child. So basically, I had to make up my mind that this child, we're going to work. We are going to work. So I created a personalized plan for this child. I had to come out of my way and I created a plan that will help me help this child for me to be effective, with this child in my class. And so I worked with this child, using what I knew about him or what I've known about him and all of that. So I was ready for him. So the day he walked into my class, with my hand like this, like, I am super excited to see you. And here I'm talking about a child that's from like a super rich home, like a political, a child from political home, that kind of children who have basically everything that it's really very difficult for you to have them do the things you want them to do, because hey, that, like, they know they can get you into trouble anytime, any day, okay, and all of that. But hey, we made progress. And I talked about how the parents came at some point and her problem was that he likes me way too much, right? So her biggest problem was that, of course, she wasn't achieving much with him in school, at home, because he will go and he will come back. He won't do the homework. He's rude to the lesson teacher. She's not there. When she travels, by the time she's coming back, it's complaints after complaints and all of that. When the reports come from school, we send the reports. Okay, he's not doing this. It's not, because there is the part that the home has to do for the child. So we send all that reports and all of that. And she's not around. She's always traveling. And then she comes back and she's like, she doesn't get it. Okay, why does this book look like this in school? And why does it look like this at home and all of that? It was just simple. What we could achieve in school, because we had created the environment and I was working with the child's individuality. The people at home probably couldn't do that because they didn't know what to do with the child. And so we were not getting the same outcome. All right. And then she's like, okay, she needed a FEMA teacher. He's not even afraid when you call my name. Like, when you call, he's not even afraid. She needed a teacher that is firm and, that he was afraid of. I'm like, what do you guys want, parents? What do you want? But basically, things like this come up, and they come up because parents keep thinking that your children are their teacher's responsibility. Like the education of your child is their teacher's responsibility. Because we think that teachers have some magic wand under their desk that they pull out, and the children, they just pull it out, or some voodoo kind of thing, and they do like whatever incantation, you say it and the child, everything will work. It's not like that. Okay, it's not like that. There is the part that you have to play in the life of your child. There is the part that the role that the school has to play in the life of the child. And if you don't get this, especially if your child is that kind of child that his love language or his style of learning his style of learning and love language is such that it is at home that it's more effective. There are children like that. You will find out that your child's love language and your child's learning style will help the child learn better at home. Take, for instance, you have a child that is really very kinesthetic, right? Your child is really very tactile. The child wants to move a lot. The child wants to engage with his environment a lot. All right. And this child's love language is probably touch, right? The child wants to your warmth every time. The child wants to be praised. The child, or it's some acts of love, right? The child wants you talking to them in, that reassuring tone and all of that. Now, this child is in a classroom where he has two teachers and the teachers got 30 children. So the teachers got 30 children and the teachers got just 45 minutes or at most 1 hour to teach a subject. So a lot of times teachers will say to you, oh, we do differentiation, we do this, we pay attention. But I promise you, very few schools, as in you can drop it in the ocean, the number of schools who pay attention to your child's learning style, or they actually do the differentiation as they say it. Okay, I've been there and done that. I've been in schools, not just your average school. I've been in like top-notch kind of school fees, kind of school fees and all that, where we understand all this. School where they understand all these principles, right? They understand all these principles and all the techniques and all that is needed for you to help a child today and all of that. And yet the differentiation is not that solid, basically, because you have two teachers. Even if they had the best of intentions, how would they manage it with 30 children? How? No, just think about it yourself. Even if you have to put 4 teachers, that's rare. Even if you have to put 4 teachers in one classroom, has any of you gone to school and in your child's class that they are 20 or 30, they tell you they have 4 teachers? I'm not talking of cleaner, I'm not talking of minders, I'm talking of 4 teachers, like people who can support them effectively. Right, so you don't have this. So a lot of times, as much as possible, as much as the school or the educators understand this, it's not practical to have these children's needs, taken care of that way. Some schools cannot even invest in resources that much to cater for each of these children's learning styles. Some teachers are not even trained that well to cater for this. Some teachers do not have the right professional development to even cater for all of this. So yes, but no matter the intention. So what I'm saying is the school might not be able to give your children all of this, not because the school is terrible and all of that, but because the situation in the school does not make this as effective as it can be at home. Yes, it doesn't make this as effective as it can be at home. Now, at home, what do you do as a parent? At home, you have to learn how to reinforce what your child is learning in school. Okay, so reinforcement when employed in learning in every learning area. So you can employ reinforcement in every learning area. You can employ reinforcement in your child's academics. You can employ reinforcement when your children go for coaching. Okay, when your children have gone to basketball classes, they've gone for whatever extracurricular activities that your children are doing. You can also, apply reinforcement. Even when your children sit in online classes, when your children attend sessions with coaches, okay, their coaches, their mentors, you can still apply reinforcement, okay, in whatever area. As far as your child is learning, okay, you can actually apply reinforcement into whatever area of learning that your child is going through, okay? Now, reinforcement is that thing that increases the chances of your child doing a particular thing. So whether your child is learning a skill, or whether your child is learning a skill, your child is learning concepts in school, or your child is dealing with a negative behavior, when you reinforce, you increase the chances of your child having the outcome that you require. So if your child is learning in school, the goal is that your child is able to understand the concepts, your child is able to internalize the concepts, and your child is able to reproduce, your child is able to, during assessments and during statutory tests and or whatever test they have to do, or however the child is being tested, it is expected that your child is able to show that learning has happened. Okay, so there is an outcome. There is the objective of every lesson and every learning. Okay, your child should be able to meet those objectives at the end of the day, isn't it? So that's it. For your child's education, there are learning objectives, and the child should be able to achieve those learning objectives at the end of the day for you to say learning has happened. All right, if you're taking your child to learn how to play a sport or music or whatever it is, at the end of the day, your child should be able to master. There should be mastery going on, or mastery should have happened. Okay, so that's the outcome that you are looking at. If your child has certain negative behavior and you have been working on those negative behavior, or you have people working with them, mentors, or you have to enroll them for some coaching program or whatever, because you want to reduce or you want to eliminate those negative behavior, then the fact that your child is able to replace those negative behavior with positive ones is the outcome that you are looking at. So at every point, there should be a learning objective. For everything that your child is doing, there must be an outcome that you want to see. All right. So what reinforcement does is it increases the chances of that outcome happening. And that's why reinforcement is very important. Okay. I said they have been shown, when they have been shown. Okay. So, yes, it increases the possibility of that outcome showing. And basically, this is what we all want. So, in other words, what I'm saying, reinforcement makes a behavior or a skill stronger. Okay. So, a behavior, the positive behavior that you want to see with reinforcement, it will make that behavior stronger. If it's a skill, reinforcement will make that skill stronger. So, basically, reinforcement is this: your child has learned a thing, your child comes home, and then you create the right environment, you provide the right resources, and you provide the right support that will help the child foster an increase in that outcome. All right. So when you're able to do this, when you're able to provide the right environment, the right support, and then the right resources in your environment, right, and you are intentional. So you cannot do reinforcement without being intentional. Reinforcement can only be achieved with intentionality. Now, we cannot even talk about reinforcement without looking at what we call the ABC in education or in learning, basically. Okay, you can't you can't understand. I mean, we would understand reinforcement better when we're able to look at the ABC. What is the ABC? The ABC, the A stands for antecedents. Now, antecedents are the things that can happen prior to a behavior: the prompts, the instructions, the prompts, the instructions, the learning, and all of that can happen prior to a behavior. So the antecedent when your child goes to school is that concept is going to be taught to him by his teacher. Okay, a curriculum is going to be administered to the child, right? A scheme is going to be administered to the child. So for every learning, there is a learning objective, basically. Now, this is the antecedent. At home, for a positive behavior, you must have taught the child, or you must have instructed the child. So the instruction and all of those things that you do before the behavior is the antecedent. What you provide the child that will help the child achieve that skill, that outcome, that learning is the antecedent. Now, the behavior that follows that antecedent is the B. Okay, so you have taught the child this. You have instructed the child, okay, I'm going out. By the time I come back, I would like you to have made food. I'd like you to have cleaned the room. I'd like you to. This is a prompt, is an antecedent. Okay, so this is the prompt, or this is the instruction you're giving the child. Okay, or these are the learning outcomes that you are delivering to the child. Okay, so this is the antecedent. Now, the behavior that follows that is what the B stands for. Now, how does your child respond to the antecedents that have been placed before them? Are they going to sit down? Are they going to learn? Are they going to take the learning seriously? Are they going to take the learning seriously? Is your child going to study? Is your child going to do their homework? Is the child going to turn it in? Is your child going to go ahead and make the food as you have taught them and you have asked of them? Is the child going to clean the room? Is the child going to, that thing that you have taught, or that thing that you have placed before the behavior? Okay, now the behavior is now what will determine the C, the consequence. Okay, so it's a behavior that will not determine the C, and the C could be what? The C could be that the child did it, the child didn't do it, and all of that. And now it is this C that will determine what kind of reinforcement that you would give the child. Some people even say the C is reinforcement comes right there, but it's the C that will not determine what kind of reinforcement. So yes, your child has been taught and your child still does not understand. Your child has been taught and the child still has it vague, right? The child has been taught and the child has just been taught one time. Okay, now what can you do? And how do you know how to reinforce and how to support the child? So let's go to academics first. Okay, so there are different areas where you can apply this. So I'm rushing because the Skill Up Show is a short show. We don't stay here for too long. As I said, the Skill Up Show is a lot of tips that you can take and apply, okay, in your parenting. While you're doing that, you will find out that you need more, or you will find out that you need to ask questions. We're always here in the group to answer your question. But if you need a hand holding, we would love to work with your children, because we know that when we work with your children, it's double barrel. Okay, when we work with you as parents, we over the years have realized that parents get instructions, you're getting instructions, you're learning here, you're learning there, you're learning all around and all of that. Now, the learning is one thing. Sometimes some of us even suffer information overload because we finished with all of the learning and we still don't know how to apply this learning. We finish with all this learning because there are too many areas. You're looking at your child, connecting with your child, you're looking at helping your child with your schoolwork, you're looking at your child's behavior, you're looking at your child's interest and their purpose, you're looking at your child's relationship. God, there's so many areas basically, and sometimes you don't know how to apply them. So what do? Well, something, we can work with children directly, and when we work with your children, it means you have access to us as a parent. And so that's how we came up with the mastermind program. So with the mastermind program, we work with your children directly. So yes, we have all the techniques, we have all the skills, all the techniques, all the tools, all the strategies, right? And we are the second ear, and we do not have our emotions in the way when we are working and seeking accountability from your child. Apart from that, we put them in a group where they can also mentor each other and also inspire each other. So we say the strongest thing in the mastermind is the fact that the children are peer mentoring themselves. So it's a peer mentorship group, and then we offer them accountability. Now, that accountability is the biggest problem with you. You do not know how to hold your children accountable, or you don't know how to hold them as accountable as we can. So what's happening is we come in and we're able to hold them accountable, and for some reason they do not want to appear bad, right, with us, and they can appear bad with you. See, finish has entered the matter now. Should there with you at home? All right, so that's by the way. But basically, what happens is we're able to offer accountability, and in your way, you can hold them accountable also based on the fact that you have them, working with, the mentors and working with their peers and all of that in the mentorship program. So basically that's it. But hey, you can come here every Monday at 1 p.m. and we will have it too that we can share with you, that you can go and start working with. If you need us, we're always here. All right, so Now, what are the areas that you can, reinforcement will come up. Reinforcement in your child's academics, definitely. All right. So that's one of the biggest one, reinforcement in their academics. Now, how do you help reinforce? How do you know how to reinforce? Now, children go to school every day. Okay. Your children go to school every day, especially all your children, all group of children. I wanted to say especially your toddlers, but I say especially your toddlers a lot of the times because we know that if you can get things right at that phase of your child's life, you would have done yourself a lot of good and you would have done your child a whole world of good. Okay, between when your children are 0 and 6, right? 0, 6, 0, 7, between when your children are 0 and 7, there is a lot in the world that you can do that can determine the rest of the life of your children. Because at that point of their life, there's a window period for learning almost everything. Okay, there's a window period for learning almost everything easily, for sowing the right seeds, positive seeds about these things. The window period for them to take that learning easily without, almost unconsciously, the children are able to learn. Now, it's you being present. It's you being present. Present as in you understanding what is going on with your child, you paying attention because you understand that thing about the window period for learning different skills, that time where there is a natural pull to the environment to learn a particular skill per time. It could be the window period for learning small things, right? For learning small things, that time where your child sees a tiny little ant and he wants to grab. We talked about this. I had a free master class that I talked about this for a whole 1 hour, 30 minutes. In fact, a 3 hour master class. We had two sound educators in that class. Okay, if you have not watched that master class, I don't know what's wrong with you. It's free. I did not ask you to pay. So if I were you, I would get into that place and watch that. In fact, why is it even still free? I'm not even sure if it's still free because it was free for a long time. And well, putting a cost, there's a cost to it anyway from the beginning. So at the end of this class, I think put in the comments or reach out to me and see if it's even still free. But in that master class, we dealt with window periods basically. Hi, Chidima, it's good to see you. Hello, Praise. Hi, Ene, if you're here. All right. So we dealt with window period and all of that. So between 0 and 7 is really very crucial. All right. So during that period, basically, your child goes to school and your child comes back. What do you do when you come back and you're with your child? What do you do when you pick your babies from school? What do you do? What are you talking about? That's when you want to talk about. You want to get it right into their head. Oh, sweetie, do you know? And I always say to parents, start by telling your child what your day has been like. Start by telling your child what you have been up to. When you tell them about what you've been up to, you invite them to tell you about what they've been up to. And then you set the stage for how you want the conversation to go. Now, you're not asking them play, yes. So you're not asking them monotonous kind of questions. You are giving them, oh, sweetie. So today was Monday. So I had the skill up show today and it was really very exciting. Okay, I had so I am telling you, it was really very exciting. After that, guess what? I had to get someone to come and fix the tap in the kitchen, and all of that. So I am having a conversation with them and telling them what my day is like. So that child, when he wants to tell you about his day, is going to be elaborate also. And he's going to tell you, oh, miss, this person came, I learned this, I learned that. Now that gives you a clue or that gives you an insight into what your child has learned. Now, when you get home, what are you going to do? You are going to extend that learning. You're going to reinforce that learning because, as I said, it could be that your child, it could be that your child has learned that thing or your child has listened to the teacher teach that thing, but the child does not have the right insight, or the child does not, or there is always room for deeper insights. That's what I'm trying to say. All right. So your child can say to you, oh, we learned about ants today, or we learned about multiplication today, and all of that. So the fact that your child has told you that, now gives you the information that you need for reinforcement. So what are you going to do? So you might be doing that day, or you can choose to do that the next day. What do you do? That's why you must be creative and you must be alert to those kind of things. And you should be that kind of parent. What I do is, sometimes I go jogging or I go walking in the morning and I see styrofoams. Like someone has just bought a fridge, freezer, or television, and you take out, the styrofoam and you dump them outside. You will see me coming back from my work and I have two, as in two large styrofoam I'm dragging with me. Yeah. And what I do, I just break them, put them in a bag, and stack them somewhere where I keep those things. When the children come like that, I use styrofoam a lot. Who is here? Just I wanted to show you the kind of things I do with styrofoam. Okay, so I use styrofoam a lot to create models. We use styrofoam to create models at home, especially models that have to do with science, science models and all of that. So you're teaching your child the respiratory program. Do you know system? Do you know you can actually use styrofoam and you can actually go on YouTube, or you can go get the diagram of that thing and you can create it. What you do with the styrofoam? Why am I giving you this? We have a challenge, and I'm going to be doing this with the parents in the challenge. You should go and join the challenge. Anyway, but what you're doing is you can use the styrofoam, put it in hot fire. Okay, make sure the children are a bit far from you until they are old enough. You can actually create models, right, that you can use to reinforce this. Okay, you can go online, get worksheets that you can color, right? You can get worksheet that you can work on to reinforce something that you are learning. Okay, go look for worksheets, whatever it is, especially based on how your child learns, especially if your child is that kind of person that's very tactile and wants to touch and do things. Then you want to create things like that with them to extend the learning, to reinforce what they've learned in school. Okay, another one is if your child is auditory, then you want to get them to watch videos. So you can go on YouTube. What did you learn today? I learned this. Don't put that 30 minutes. Okay, put that 30 minutes. Do you have 3 children? Then put the one at 30 minutes. Yes. But if you have children, you gave birth to 3. Others gave birth to 1. You had 3. Then make time for 3. Okay. You have 4. Make time for 4. Okay. You cannot want to invest the same way the person that is investing, the person that has 1 child is investing. In some cases, we will see people, the one that has 1 child is even investing much more in that 1 child than a parent that has 5 children. It doesn't add up. Does it add up? It doesn't at all. So if you are going to choose to have children, as many as 3, 4, 5 children, then you should choose to invest as many as 2, 3, 5, times the time that the person with 1 child is investing in the child. It is the least that you can do for your children, basically. And remember, I said, when I talk about educating your child, I'm not just talking about classroom. I'm talking about every other area, right? You're teaching your child about virtues. You're teaching your child about values. Now, what can we use to reinforce values? What can we use to reinforce the lesson on values? Or your children come back from school and their teacher has just taught them about patriotism and citizenship and all of that. What can you do to teach your children more or to extend this? Are you going to go ahead and look for ways to show your children videos or talk to your children or read a book together about heroes, people who have been patriotic, people who went all the way for their nations, how nations have been built? Are you going to go and get a history book? So all of this, reading a book together is reinforcing, is a way of reinforcing with your child. Reading a book together with your child, right? So whatever resources, as I said, whatever resource that you can get, okay, on the area that you want to reinforce. Remember, I said reinforcement is very intentional. You have to be intentional about reinforcement. Now, why am I saying this to you? I'm saying this to you because if you've been following me in the last couple of weeks, we have been talking about how you can help your children excel in the classroom and outside the classroom. I am talking because I think I'm talking to parents who want their children to be exceptional. I am talking to parents who do not want to raise ordinary children, who do not want to raise children who are just average, right? So that's why I'm talking to you. So you cannot raise exceptional children. You can set your children apart by doing the basic. You cannot set your children apart. You can't raise real high flyers, okay? I'm not talking about the ones who come with all A pluses because they are cramming up and down the place. You cannot raise a high flyer with just what the child is getting in the classroom co-working. It's not true. It's not possible. You cannot raise a high flyer with just those lesson teachers or those teachers that you hang all around the children. You can't. Raising a high flyer, raising an outstanding child is debt. It's a lot of debt. And no, those teachers don't give your children the kind of depth that we're talking about. Not because they don't know or because they don't want to, because they cannot do that, because they have too many children to deal with. They have too many. It's a school system. It cannot be as effective as a one-on-one system with you who has the vision that you have for your child, with you who has the real, nobody can have the kind of intention you have for your child like you do. So let the intention you have for your child be the driving force. I don't know, I'm saying it with a passion because I know the kind of intentions that I have for my children. I know when I close my eyes, when I visualize, I know what I see. I don't see average, I don't see mediocrity, I don't see simple, I don't see less. I see so much. Now, if I am seeing so much, why do I think that my own work is to provide money and then provide money, make sure they dress and they look nice in the morning, and make sure their lunch box is packed well, and then I get a driver or drive them and drop them in school, and then I come home? I want to see exceptional, and then I want to leave them to somebody else to make them exceptional. No, you need to define what it is that your goals are. You need to define what it is that your expectations are for your children. Because for some of us, all that is our problem is just that you can say, is your bragging rights, that you're able to say that my child came out with 7 A's and 3 A pluses. They came out with da 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 da. They came out with that. That's all that some of us are concerned about, right? Now, how authentic these A pluses are doesn't concern you. How much depth that child is got does not concern you. How much knowledge that child is got does not concern you. How much impact that child is got does not concern you. How much the child can solve problems or how the child can navigate the world does not concern you. All that concerns you. So that's why you hear parents say this. You will see a child that is sound, the child that is a high flyer, that is doing very well in school. Then you see the parents say, "You don't even know how to cook. He doesn't know how to cook. He doesn't know this one. It's no problem. All he wants to do is just leave him where you see him. All he wants to do is study." What are you talking about? Just leave that one. Or the only thing in his head is book. Just forget. He doesn't want to see people. He doesn't want to. Your child has got zero social skills. Your child's got zero skills when it comes to managing the home or managing himself. Your child's got zero skills when it comes to selling. Your child's got zero skills when it comes to being able to convince people. Your child's got zero skill when it comes to selling himself or selling anything that he has to anybody. Your child's got zero skills in all of this. Your child's only skill is that your child gets A in maths, physics, and chemistry, and you are just fine. Just leave him alone. That one. All he wants to do is just to study his book, and somewhere at the back of your mind, hail the parent of the guru. So, as I said, you need to x-ray, or you need to examine what exactly you are looking out for your child, or what expectations you are. Okay, but if this is it, you want your child to have depth and all of that, then you need to learn that reinforcement is a thing. So you're taking every lesson, you're taking every knowledge, and you are extending this knowledge. You're taking every lesson and you're extending this lesson, and it starts right from when they are toddlers. I've told the story before, how I was sitting down with my husband and a few of his friends. Okay, there were more men that day. I think it was just 2 of us who were women there. Okay, there were more men, and these men, of course, you know how it is. They were discussing all kinds of things, from building, from structures to politics. You know how men can be now. They were discussing all kind of deep things and all of that. And then I turned to them one day, and I turned to them and I said, "Can you guys? Can you just think about the fact that, or can you?" All these things you're discussing, do you discuss these things with the kids? As in, do your children, can your children have this conversation with you? Do they know these things? And he was like, I don't understand. I'm discussing work with my child. No, not like, it's not work. The technicalities of these things. The depth with which you speak. How are you sure that your children are going to have this depth? Okay, and some of us will turn and say, "Me, who taught me?" That's the thing you don't understand. The times that you grew in taught you. The environment that you grew in taught you. Yes, you didn't have all the technology, but you had an environment that was not so distracting. So, yes, the environment taught you. Don't play. That time that we played in the sun from morning, you come back from school, all you did was take off your school uniform. Whether you washed it or I don't know whether you had that skill or some of us, we dumped the school uniform and we ran out. We ate and we ran out. Right? We ate and we ran out and we played till they had to call you, Mary, won't you come home? That's when we ran back home. We played for 3-4 hours. We're playing, interacting with the environment. A lot of us keyed into the window period for some of these skills we're talking about today, unconscious, without our parents being deliberate about it. But because our parents did not hinder us, our parents did not stop us from interacting with the environment. Those times you rolled the tire, the time you went to go and look for Congo meat, right? I don't know about you guys, I'm talking about me. The times that after the rain, the times that you were playing in the rain, do you understand the kind of knowledge that was going on there? Do you understand how you are understanding your environment? Do you understand how you are understanding how weather works? Do you understand how the window period for certain things, right, for nature and for all of those things kicked in on their own? Okay, we were born learners. Okay, as children, you are born, you are a natural learner, right? You are a natural. That's why you have some educational approach that believe that children are natural learners. Just put them in their natural environment and they will learn. All you have to do as a teacher is watch them and reinforce whatever it is that they are learning from their environment. You know what I'm talking about right now. So that's what the role of a teacher is supposed to be in some learning approach, because they've come to understand that the environment teaches the child much more than anyone can teach the child. Okay, I was talking with some of my friends and all of that, coaches, the other day, and we were saying, and someone was saying, the thing is, the way education is even modeled in Africa is such that it's not even modeled to the way that we were meant to learn. As Africans, we learn through through mentorship and apprenticeship. So basically, education is supposed to be some sort of an apprentice kind of system. Is it just in Africa? Isn't that what education was back in the day? Jesus had to learn with his father as a carpenter, basically. So there is a big apprenticeship part of education. But no, what do? We bunch children, put them in a classroom, and we teach them things that are vague, abstract things. So children cannot connect, or a lot of children are not learning because the learning is abstract. Some of you will come, you're 2-year-old, and you teach them A, B, C. How is the child going to connect that A? You say A, then you not tell him apple. You're confusing the child. A, and then you not say A is apple. B, you not say B is ball. How? It's supposed to be bill, or it's supposed to be apple. You understand? So we confuse our children because we don't know the principles behind a lot of these things. Okay? Do you understand? So do you know how many of us had to learn? We had to learn letters. We had to learn to read using letters. That's why it became much difficult. It was so difficult for us to learn because we were learning with letters rather than learning with sound. It's easy to say apple, right? Ball, right? That makes more sense, and that makes it easier for your child to flow. So that's why you see today you have a 3-year-old that is already reading, because the reading is not so abstract anymore. Okay, you can connect it. Okay, so when your toddler comes home, how are you reinforcing? His teacher is all of a sudden teaching him subtraction. Subtraction, what does that mean to your teenager, to your toddler? What does it mean? Until you carry the basket of orange, put it in the middle, and you're like, okay, can I get one orange? And the child leaves the one orange, and then give that to mommy. Can I get another one orange? And the child picks it and is laughing. And he said, how many oranges do we have? Mommy's got one, and I've got one. Let's put them together. And you put them together. Can we count how many oranges we have now? Mommy's got one, and I've got one. How many is that? 2. This is when it begins to make sense. This is when it begins to get authentic to your child, as opposed to it being abstract. Okay, now if you go to that school where they have 40-something children, 80-something children in the classroom, when is the teacher going to have the time to go all the one and all of this? The most that they're going to have is they're going to draw pencils in the book, and then they tell the child count it. Somehow for some children that is still abstract. For some children, that's the closest they can do in that large classroom. No one is going to try and bring it as close as possible to the child, right? But you can do that at home. You can bring it and make it as authentic, tangible. If the child cannot, if the learning is not tangible, if the child cannot relate to the learning, then learning becomes difficult. And this is why a lot of our children are just being taught and they are not learning. But reinforcements can change all of that. Okay, as I was saying. So you can do the same thing when your children go to church. Your children go to church and they come back. Don't just let them take whatever they've been taught. Have a conversation about it. What did you learn today? Okay, what did you talk about today? Do that and then apply that. Okay, play is very key, very key. All right, apply that in your devotion that day and all of that. Then the next day, look for something in your environment, look for something in your everyday life that will help you exemplify what you are talking about. Okay, look for that and you can exemplify what you are talking about. Okay, always look for how to reinforce, always look for how to move whatever your children are learning from it being abstract to it being authentic. It is very important. Okay, now as I'm saying, some of you are thinking, how do I do this? How do I do this? Now we have a challenge that is coming up. We have a challenge that you can register for. Okay, we call it the what did we even call that challenge, Christopher? We call the challenge the using play technique, right? Using play technique to help your children learn effectively, basically something like that. So learning using play techniques. So what I'm talking to you about now, reinforcing basically, okay, what kind of things that can you use during the window period for small things? What kind of activities, what kind of play can you use during that window period for small things to reinforce so that your child can internalize that learning? Because during that window period for small things, your child is ready to learn about small things, things that can help the child become meticulous in the future, things that can help the child become organized, pay attention to detail. That's the skill that is being that's a skill that is being sown during that period. So your 2-year-old has the window period for small things, and he is drawn to small things during that time in his life. Now, as a parent, what activities can you put together intentionally during that period to reinforce, to help the child learn more, to stimulate the child's brain during that period? It is the stimulation that you offer during that period of that window period that helps the child learn, internalize, and as in then get that programming into the child fully, basically. Okay, and what activity do you use to continue to reinforce this so that after that window period the child does not lose this skill? Raising children is not beans. It's not a walk in the park. That's the truth about it. But you need to make up your mind. Who do you want to raise? Do you want to raise a basic child, or you want to raise an exceptional child? If you're going to raise an exceptional child, then I know something. I think you should get into the challenge. The challenge is just 3,500 naira, and that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be giving you activities that you can use for for the toddlers, for every one of those window periods, basically. And then, of course, for your older children, your preteens and your early teens, will have different activities for the ones you have missed the window period. So what can I do, right, to make my child pay attention to details, okay, as a preteen and all of that? So these are the kind of activities. So playful activities, basically, and that's challenge is for 21 days. But hey, we're going to have a 3-day live session where we would talk to you about it, teach you all about this, and then we will provide accountability for you during the 21 days. We'll be there. Okay, if you need help, you have questions and all of that. Okay, it's just 3,500 naira. The early bird period ended yesterday, but hey, the team decided, you know something, let's just leave it for another week. So you can still pay 3,500 naira and be a part of the challenge, where we will be teaching you, or we'll be giving you activities that you can use to reinforce in your home based on what your children are learning, or the things that your children have the sensitive period for right now, or the things that your children should have known that they don't know, that you can actually begin to fill those gaps right now. And then, of course, the activities will span from your little children up to your children who are in their early teenage, your 13 and 14-year-olds. So you have children between 0 and 14, then you should enroll for that challenge. It is very cheap, 3,500 naira, and we are here to support you for 21 days after we've given you a 3 days live webinar. All right, so join the challenge and you will be glad you did. All right, apart from that, we have the conference coming up for children. The conference is free. Okay, we have a conference by children for children. We're going to have young brands and we're going to have young children who are already changing the world, who are already doing amazing things, who are already on their way in the doing stage of their purpose. They're already doing things. Children need to be inspired by children. Children need to see that other children are pushing themselves. You need to get your children in that space where they can see how other people are pushing themselves. It doesn't matter if your child is already pushing themselves. Let them come and ask questions. Let them come and interact. Let them come and be in a gathering of children like themselves, like minds doing great things. And if your child is still dragging his feet, this could be that opportunity that they need, the opportunity that you can key into to help your child see that it's not every child that is just playing video games and fighting every time they're told to do anything more. Let your child see that there are children who are playing video games and they are still creating impact in the world. There are children who are playing football and watching football and they are still impacting the world and they are still acing in other areas of their lives. Let your children see that there are people who are taking their love for technology above and beyond, so that all they're not doing with their phones is not just playing games and going on TikTok. Let the children understand that people are managing their time. Let them see that other people are managing their time, or other people are utilizing their time, or other people are engaging themselves positively and productively. As I said, even if your child is doing all of this, let your child come and share this with other children. All right. So this conference is during the Easter. In fact, it begins on Easter Monday. It's a 3 days conference from Easter Monday to the Wednesday afterwards. Your children will all be at home during this period. It's during the Easter holiday. So they'll all be at home. And it's just going to be an amazing, amazing conference. And the conference is free. All right. So we'll have the link for the conference right here after this session, and you can just click. It's all over the group, okay? And you can just click and join the conference. All right, so thank you very much. I think I'm going to stop here right now. Thank you. We have taken a whole 56 minutes. Thank you very much, everyone who joined me. I can't see any questions. Thank you for being here. Thank you to Lu, Chidima, Awa. Hi, are you still here? Thank you. Hope, thank you. Chioma, and thank you, everyone. Who is that? Zodwa. Thank you very much. Christabel, how are you doing? Thank you, Henry. Thank you, everyone who made time to be here. Thank you, everyone on Instagram. Okay, I see you all. Thank you for being here. Okay, have a lovely, lovely rest of the day and a fantastic week ahead. Bye. Bye, everyone.